Welcome to HighSpeed Healing Wednesdays. Hi, everyone. I'm Debora Wayne. I am the founder and CEO of the International Chronic Pain Institute. If you are brand new here and this is your first time, you are so welcome here. Delighted to have you. We have an amazing group of people in my Zoom room and in my Facebook and Instagram community, and we are all about positive change that's out of the box. So tonight is a very special topic that I'm going to be sharing with you. If you've been suffering from things like chronic pain, depression, anxiety, trauma, it could be trauma from childhood, trauma from something in your current life, trauma from an accident or an injury or a surgery gone bad, any type of trauma. And I'm going to talk about what that is in a moment as well. We're going to dive into this topic tonight and pull back the curtain on why it's important that you not give up hope and that you hear my message tonight to discover that there are new solutions for healing trauma. And it's not something that you have to live with the rest of your life and be plagued with. And there may be hidden symptoms that are showing up in your physical body, your mental, emotional, even in your career, your relationships, and you may not recognize that it's related to trauma. So we're going to dive into this, and there'll be chances for your questions. So if you have questions, you're welcome to share them in the Zoom chat or in the Q&A section on the Zoom, or post them in Facebook. And even if I can't get to them during the call, I will get to them after the call if you're on Facebook. So thank you, though. Thank you for being open. Thank you for not giving up. You know, giving up almost killed me, because many years ago I was suffering from a lot of pain and I didn't know what the cause was, and it was showing up in every area of my life, and I kept trying to pretend everything was fine. Which, you know, don't do as I did. It doesn't work. I can tell you, I promise you, it doesn't work. It led to many years of pain and too much drinking, too many drugs, very terrible side effects of a lifestyle of pretending, of being in denial. And I learned denial is not a river in Egypt. It is a way of being where you pretend everything's fine when it isn't, and you know deep down something's really wrong, but you either think there's something wrong with you, you feel ashamed, embarrassed, afraid, you don't want people to judge you, so you keep it to yourself and you hold it inside. And if you hold this pain inside long enough, it comes out sideways as symptoms. And those of you that know me and have been in my community for a while, you know that all the work that I do, and if I've worked with literally tens of thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands because of all the speaking that I do, but in 150 countries, and it's all been virtual, except for my early years. So for the past 5-6 years, it's all been virtual. Most of the people I've never met, many I've never spoken to. I don't even know what's wrong with them or what's happening to them. But I'm able to help them virtually by working in the field known as the biofield that's around the body. This is the key, and it's the new key that science is finally catching up to understand that the field is the secret missing key to health, to happiness, and to high energy. And we can access the information that's in the field. That's what I do. I'm happy to report that I'm able to very rapidly find information in the field. Now, I can also share with you that there's many things you can do to help yourself as well if you're suffering. So when I work with people, whether it's privately or virtually or in groups of thousands of people all at once, I can teach you things that you can do yourself. There are solutions. And the good news is that all pain, all symptoms are changeable. Here's the thing I want you to remember tonight, and write it down. And those of you that have been around a while, you've heard me say it before, and I'm going to keep saying it till it really sinks in. Everything is energy and information. Everything. So whatever is showing up in your physical health, your emotions, your mental health, your relationships, your work, your finances, your romances, whatever is showing up is giving you information that you don't want to ignore. It's very important because this information has a message in it for you. So pain is your friend, symptoms are your friend, even trauma is your friend. And if it's coming up or you're aware of it or you think you may be affected by it, it's getting your attention for a reason, not so you can stuff it down, but so you can heal it. And it's coming up because you're ready to heal it, or you wouldn't even be thinking about it. You wouldn't be aware of it. You wouldn't be wondering. You wouldn't be curious. You wouldn't be afraid. And you wouldn't be on a call like this. So first I want to just say a couple things about trauma. And you know, when I say trauma tonight, I also mean severe stress. And there's no one, this is not to minimize those of you who have had extraordinary trauma. This is not to, what I'm about to say is not to minimize that. But right now on planet Earth, everyone is going through some degree of trauma and extreme stress. And we're going through it together. We're going through a type of collective trauma. So even if your personal life is pretty darn good, you may still be feeling stress and like shocked or in some way traumatized because you have your heart open enough to feel what everyone is going through, what the whole planet is purging and is clearing and is looking at and is in pain from. And because we're all interconnected, you're feeling it. And it may make no sense to you, but you're accurate in that you're feeling something, and it's something you can tell something's wrong. But you also might have the sense, hopefully, and if not, I hope to shed that light tonight, that if you have been for months since all of this began, or maybe before it even began with COVID, you may have had the sense that something was wrong, or some things were really wrong with what's going on in the world. And you may have felt powerless to do anything about it, but you're not wrong. There are a lot of things that are out of balance. I prefer not to go good, bad, right, wrong, but to look at where are we out of balance? Where have we become separated from our true nature, which is harmony, love, peace, kindness, compassion? Where are we disconnecting? Because we're not, in my opinion, now, you know, take what you like and leave the rest, okay? I'm not here to try and convince you. I'm going to share with you what has been revealed to me over many years of seeking, searching, pain, recovery, healing, studying, learning left brain and right brain, lots of meditation, 35 plus years of it, lots of really seeking answers and exploring deep subjects. I've come to really understand that being out of balance, being separate from love, you might want to call it God, from infinite intelligence, from a sense of connection to other people, to the planet, to the cosmos, to a higher power. If you feel disconnected from that, if you see others, that is not our natural state. But it's easy to fall into. And it's not bad. It doesn't mean I'm judging you or you should judge yourself or anyone else. It means we've become lost along the way. There's a disconnect. You know, if you're driving your car, trying to go somewhere on your daily journey, and for example, a fan belt breaks and your car stops running and you have to pull over to the side of the road because you can't drive. It literally stops you in your tracks. You don't judge yourself in the car as being bad. You look for where there's a disconnect and you fix it. And that's really, although that's a pretty mechanical example, and we're more complex than that, but when something is broken, we can heal. The body's designed to heal itself when it's given a safe environment, the right tools, and someone there with you to guide you and help you if you get lost along the way. It's why you call AAA. You call a mechanic. You call the tow truck. You don't try to push the car on your own. And unless you're a mechanic, you don't try to fix it. You don't go in there and start pulling everything out. You get a guide. You get some expertise. So trauma used to mean you were in a war zone. You were a soldier in Iraq, or you were in Vietnam, or you were, in a war zone, or you were in a neighborhood where there were shootings and drive-bys and drugs and some type of scary, pretty regular, negative, destructive activity. But we're not living, yes, all of that's still going on, but now there's more. And I do not believe that trauma means just war zone. If your inner life has a lot of tension, stress, pain, emotional pain, you're living in a war zone. If you feel tied up in knots and twisted internally, and you may not even show it at all on the outside, you're living in a war zone. And so trauma doesn't just mean living in an external war zone. And we're living with stress and change all the time. It's at an all-time high. But in the dictionary, trauma is defined as a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. A personal trauma like a death of a child or physical injury. That's how it's defined in a dictionary. That there's an event of some kind of deep stress, and it could be physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological, but it does you harm. And you may feel threatened or anxious or unsafe. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of people I know, their houses have burned in fires recently. They lost their jobs. They lost a lot of money, or maybe they've lost all their income. They have lost loved ones to a virus or another illness. Maybe you've had your own illness, pain, chronic something. See, this, my friends, is extraordinary stress that is a traumatic event. Those are traumatic events. By a show of hands on the Zoom call tonight, how many of you would say you have had at least once in your life an incident that caused you physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological harm, where you felt threatened, anxious, or unsafe? Anybody? Any hands going up? On Facebook, give me some thumbs up if you can relate to this as well, please. You see, every hand on my Zoom call is raised. So almost every hand, sorry, I just noticed a few that aren't up. But the majority of the hands are up. There's a lot of people on the call tonight. I'm so glad you're all here, and I suspect you're here for a reason. So I'd love for you to vote and let me know. And you can type in the chat, please, if you would. What do you consider to be the worst trauma experience that you've gone through? Now, let me remind you that this could be the top 5. They do these studies where they show the top stressors, the top 5 stressors, which can be traumatic events, are the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, the moving, like the loss of a home, moving to a new home, and it could be even moving because you wanted to. It's super stressful. It's at the top, one of the top 3 in the list. A major illness or the loss of a job, or divorce. So the death of a loved one, the divorce, moving, a major illness, and a job loss. Those are the top 5 stressors. Now, trauma, I will like to just add to this, are things like accidents and injuries, abuse of any kind, whether you think it affected you or not, whether you remember it or not, if you suspect it, if you know you had some type of abuse, and I don't just mean physical abuse, not just if you were beaten up, if it was emotional abuse, if there was sexual abuse, if there was implied abuse. Abuse is traumatic. It could be even being around other people where there's violence, neglect, extraordinary criticism, where you witnessed abuse. It may not have been you going through it, but if you were around it and witnessed it and could do nothing about it or even tried to do something about it, that's traumatic. If you've moved a lot, like I know a lot of my clients grew up in military families and they moved all the time and they found it extraordinarily traumatic. And there's just so many other things that for you, and here's something else I want you to really hear me on this, listen really closely. If it felt traumatic to you, whether anybody ever agreed with you, validated you, whether you Google trauma and if you don't see yours on the list, if it felt traumatic to you, it was trauma for you. So I don't care if somebody told you, oh, that's not traumatic. Oh, get over it. Oh, can't you let it go? Oh, well, you should hear what happened to me. If it was traumatic for you, it was trauma for you. Okay, are you hearing me? So let me look at the comments that are, where's the chat? Okay, so people are saying things like they've had many traumas, loss of a husband in the past year, very, very high on the list. Especially, if you've spent a long time with someone, if you've lost a child, I mean, these things are very, very painful. Michelle is saying, all of my 3 sisters passed away from 2009 to June of 2020, and none by natural causes. Not easy. Sandra said, I was taken off of work for a year due to work-related injury. Lori said, the worst trauma was a severe car accident that left me in a 3-month coma. Oh my God. Falling out with my best friend of many years, and my dad passed away. Yes. Pauline said, I'm being something, I'm not sure what you mean there, in a family that did not get it. Oh, you might mean super sensitive, I'm not sure. And the death of a childhood friend as a child. Sandra saying emotional abuse from my boss. Michelle said we've all endured lots of childhood abuse. Kathy said the death of a relationship, the loss of my own self. Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought that up. This is a big one. Addictions also need to be added to this list, because addictions will truly, over time, you will lose yourself. You will not remember or feel or know who you are, or it will be in the distance. It won't be the real you showing up. Any type of addiction. It could be addiction to work, gambling, alcohol, drugs, any kind of drugs, food, overeating, binge eating, porn, anything, there's a lot of things we can get addicted to. So that creates over time severe trauma and emotional stunted growth. Andrew said, I relocated to the hospital at age 9 when I broke my femur bone. Yeah, not easy. The death of my sister, Shelley said, when she was in Mexico with her new husband. I was 22, she was 23. A drunk driver went into her cab in Mexico, and she was fatally injured. Out of 5 people in the car, she was the only one. I had a 6-week-old baby and still can't remember anything of the first year of this. Oh, I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Edmund's fire. Edmund said he was a witness to abuse. So someone is saying that she doesn't remember the abuse, but she's had readings that told her there was trauma at age 5. There's just so many examples here. Cultural and historical trauma, absolutely. So we also, people always ask me, can you carry trauma from your childhood and from your lineage. It's not, you didn't even have something happen to you, but can you be carrying trauma from your ancestors? And the answer is yes, because we live in the environment that we're soaking in when we're children, and even in the birth canal, we are exposed to emotions. And when you're little, before the age of 8 or 9, you are literally connected to your mother. And what she feels, you feel. A great example of this. So I had a client years ago who had her second child, and the baby died at birth in the crib. Well, she was born, but then over that night, that first night, died in the crib. And the mother was just grieving her heart out, and they had a funeral. I went to the funeral. Now, she already had a 2-year-old that came first. And she was holding the 2-year-old in her arms, and the 2-year-old's head was kind of on her shoulder. And the mother couldn't stop crying. She was just hysterically crying, you know, with grief of the loss of the new baby. The 2-year-old, now there's no 2-year-old on earth that understands what a funeral is. They don't know what sudden infant death syndrome is. They don't know why all these people are gathered and upset and crying. They don't know why mom's crying. But this 2-year-old did not stop crying either. There is such an emotional bond to each other, and particularly to the environment we grow up in and to the mother. And so you are highly affected by the things you hear, the things you see, the things that you're told, and most importantly, the feeling quality. And we're instinctually wired to stay alive. The brain will keep your body alive. It's not designed to keep you happy, but it is designed to keep you safe and alive. And you will even shut down parts of yourself in order to survive something, even if it means disassociating from it and not remembering it. I'm going to circle back in a second to this. And so with trauma, it may not have been yours. You may be carrying it for others. And so many of those of you in my community that I know, a lot of you, you're sensitive. That's not a curse, it's a gift. But if you don't know how to release emotions, then the sensitivity to all of this can feel heavy and painful and cause symptoms that you know, of pain that you carry, even if it's not yours. And so in order to stay safe, if you had experiences early on where something caused a red alert, your brain said, danger, 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 you could have had the reaction of changing your behavior from what you would naturally do in order to stay safe. And you could do this later in life as well. Those of you that have had car accidents probably recognize you didn't just most likely jump right back in a car the same day and go driving comfortably. It may have taken a long time. Maybe you're still not over it. Maybe, you know, it was really traumatic for you to drive again or even be in a car. When I was in, I don't know how old I was, maybe around 15, 16, maybe 14, I went to camp, and I was a good swimmer, and I was taking lessons, and I was getting my, I don't know what they used to call them. You used to get these patches, like red ducks and yellow ducks, and these things. Well, I was getting my lifeguard patch certificate. And we had to go in the swimming pool with a turtleneck shirt on. And we had to take it off in the water and turn it into fill it up with, create a balloon that you could float on, create a float out of it and tie it up so that you could float on this filled up turtleneck shirt. And my turtleneck got stuck on my face and at my throat as I was taking it off. And there were supposed to be teachers and lifeguards all around this pool watching all the kids, but nobody was watching me. Nobody saw me, and my screams were getting muffled, and I was losing air, and I was terrified. and couldn't feel my direction. Couldn't tell where I was, and I was afraid I was going to drown. And I'm starting to panic, and I'm starting to pull this thing harder and tighter, and it just got stuck on my face. So I couldn't, it was like a suction cup over my mouth, and my throat was choking me. And finally, I don't even know how, I made my way to the edge of the pool where I could hold on and I could get this thing off, and nobody saw me. And so I remember, and I was a love of the water. I loved the water since as far back as I can remember. I was afraid to get in the pool after that, or in the lake or the ocean, for quite some time. I had to literally, I had a couple experiences in the water, one in the ocean as well, where just like this, had that cellular memory, that emotional memory. And your body imprints, well, your field imprints particularly strong emotions. They get imprinted in your field, and they show up in the body as symptoms if you don't get rid of them. And so when I work with people, this is probably the number one thing I emphasize, is that you have to examine your thoughts and find out how your thinking is creating an emotional reaction. Because the way you interpret what has happened to you, or what you saw, or what you felt, the way you think about it is going to cause more emotions. And then your emotions generate frequencies, and frequencies carry their energy, and they carry information, and then that information shows up in the body. And then you generate more thoughts based on what shows up, because the way you interpret the body, which may be true or false, but it doesn't matter. If you interpret it a certain way, if you think it's real for you. And so then you can scare yourself by your thinking and by your physical symptoms. And before you know it, you've got a loop where you're thinking something, whether it's true or false, doesn't even matter, because if it's true to you, it's true for you. And then you're reacting to it, and you're generating more thoughts and more emotions, and more thoughts and more emotions, and then more symptoms. And you get stuck there until you have somebody help you out of that and interrupt the pattern. And, also, if any of you, which, a lot of the clients I work with, they've had a period of stress after stress after stress in a short period of time. And by short, I mean within a 1 to 3 year period. Usually I see within a 1 to 2 year period, if there's multiple loss, like death, divorce, moving, illness, whether it's you or someone you love, if there's multiple stress or abuse and addictions for a 1 to 2 year period that's pretty back to back, or there's not a lot of time for recovery in between these incidences, this is when people develop very serious chronic illness of some kind, or symptoms of some kind, like pain. And then they go get tests, and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. And people are like, well, what do you mean? Look at me, listen to how I feel. And so they're put on some kind of drugs, or they're told, you need a vacation, or you should relax, here's some more drugs. And this makes you perhaps also judge yourself and feel ashamed and want to not tell anybody and pull back and isolate. And this is not how you'll heal. And it's not true. You have something going on. It's just probably not measurable with traditional, conventional equipment, because they can't measure your emotional field, your energy field, with normal, regular, everyday equipment. So, and the thing that always upsets me, I'm going to rant for a moment, are things like if you Google, and I should say, here's disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose, treat symptoms, cure anything, or give any type of medical advice. Do not take this as medical advice. Do not take anything I say. Do not do anything without the permission of your own healthcare provider. You're in charge of your health. You are. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm here to share a new perspective that is outside the framework of the way we think about health, because I don't see that we're really doing deep healing. We're putting Band-Aids on things. We're patching the crack in the sidewalk. We're putting wallpaper over cracks on the walls. We're not really repairing at a deep level, and that you're not going to heal. You might have temporary reprieve, but often it causes more side effects, more problems, if you don't really heal the root. And the root has to do with thinking and emotions that never get released and that never are understood properly, so you even recognize you have the power to release them. And so what really irks me is when you Google something like PTSD and you read, like most mental illnesses, PTSD is not curable. Okay, so I'm just going to be completely transparent here. It makes me want to just like rip my hair out when I read that, because first of all, I can't stand labels because they're not helpful. PTSD is not a mental illness. It is an experience you're having that is a combination of thoughts and emotional patterns that are causing you distress because of the experiences and pain that you have been through that you have not learned to release. And it is information that's in your field and in your mind and in your emotions and in your showing up physically or in some area of your life, in your nervous system. It's showing up. Yes, it's real, but you don't deserve a label. And I won't use the word curable, but I've worked with a lot of people with all these symptoms of the PTSD where they were given that label and they thought they were stuck with it for life, and they're walking around free, pain-free, filled with joy and peace and free. And I've had experiences where I had all the symptoms of PTSD afterwards as well. And I'm certain that when you properly release these traumatic experiences, they are no longer there. You aren't going to continue to suffer from something that is no longer there. And when you release it, it's no longer there. Sandra says, I totally agree, and I work in the healthcare field as a nurse. Thank you. I appreciate the validation. Well, more and more the science is coming out showing this and showing the power of emotions that to create symptoms. And there's more and more, different types of therapies now that are considered holistic or alternative or complementary or integrative that are really showing results of people getting free from this. And I've seen more and more. In fact, I used to teach a form of yoga that I call restorative healing yoga. I still teach it privately to clients and train yoga teachers in it. And I'm going to be teaching some of it in the HighSpeed Healing universe for those of you that are members or for those of you that want to become members. It's very, very powerful for things like the label PTSD and other traumatic experiences that you've lodged in the body, because the body does have a cellular memory. And you may not understand or find any way to relieve, if you've done a lot of things, for example, maybe you have hip pain or back pain, and you've done everything and nothing, it's just not going away. This is one of the huge indicators that you've got a cellular memory that is connected to emotions and thoughts. And it's keeping itself down, some part of you. Now, you're not doing it on purpose, but you're unconsciously keeping it down because you're trying to stay safe from either a past danger or something that you think is real or an imaginary danger that's still going on. But what happens also is that the past danger is gone. There's no more current danger. You consciously know there's nothing to be afraid of, but it's still never released from the past. And so it's still showing up in your life and in your health or your body. So this is all changeable. And one of the things we do, though, when you don't have the tools, like I said earlier, your brain is wired to keep you alive. So in order to stay alive, you may completely disassociate and not even remember the experience. You may go into what we call denial, not because you wake up and say, I'm just going to deny this ever happened, but if you don't have the skills to process, to integrate, to digest, let's say you grew up with sexual abuse, you might have felt something's really wrong here. but nobody validated you. Maybe you really knew something was wrong. You went and told your parent, a parent, and they said, oh, honey, you're imagining things. So-and-so would never do that. See, I hear this all the time. That actually happened to me as well. It's very common that people were not validated, even when they went and told someone, or they were threatened during the abuse. And the perpetrator said, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to do something to you. So the child keeps their mouth shut, never tells anyone. I've had more clients who were 50, 60, 70 years old for the first time ever tell me what happened to them. They've kept it a secret all those years because they were afraid. And I've had many others where in order to survive it, they literally shut down the memory of it. It can happen. It's actually quite common. And then when I start working with people, either doing the high-speed energy healing or even just having conversations and teaching the tools to release the emotions and the thoughts and the breath work and all the different things that I teach, they start to get either a vague dream-like memory of something that they can't put their finger on, but they suspect there was an abuse or they suspect some kind of trauma, but they can't put their finger on it. Or maybe you've noticed your dreams. Maybe you have dreams that keep coming back about something that you can't explain, but they're not pleasant dreams, and you wake up feeling horrible and you can't get it off your mind. Maybe you have these panic attacks for apparently no reason. Maybe every time you go to a certain place, or you go back and visit where you grew up, or a certain family, or I don't know, it could be whatever, you get triggered in some way. And you start to feel your heart racing or panic, or you get a migraine, or your digestion gets all upset and you don't know why. See, these can all be indicators that you have trauma of some kind that you don't fully consciously remember, and it's triggering the cellular memory, and your body's wisdom is responding, but you consciously don't remember. And so again, what happens is then there's a fear, and it kicks in the stress hormones, the fight or flight or freeze. You've heard this, right? That it can set off a reaction where people either they get angry, they get rageful, they want to fight back, or they freeze up, literally can't even talk sometimes. That's what used to happen to me. Or they just get the hell out as fast as they can. They just run. And that reaction is literally just flooding your nervous system with stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And so again, this is so interesting. I worked with a lot of people who all they wanted to do was lose weight. They just wanted to lose weight. They tried everything, but they couldn't lose any weight. And when they started working with me, and we started having conversations and healing and exercises I had them do, lo and behold, guess what shows up? Sexual abuse, some kind of emotional trauma. And the weight was actually covering over the deeper trauma that they never knew was even there. And they start to feel and remember, and it comes up, and I help them release it. And the weight often was the result of the stress hormones that were always there. Like they were always hyper vigilant, or always feeling bad about themselves, or just so many things that they weren't aware of, but it was from the previous early trauma that was still there, and their fight or flight was always on alert, trying to protect them from some real or imagined danger. There's so much I could say about this. So you may have things going on with your digestion, you may have inflammation, immune system might be out of whack, your nervous system, you just don't know why, but you just you're edgy, irritable, discontent, restless, can't sleep at night, toss and turn, have dreams. Your sexuality, your sexual life or sexual health may be out of whack. Just things like that could be, poor concentration is one. you know, I hate it when these kids get labeled ADD, ADHD, they're developmentally disabled. They don't care. They're lazy. They're lethargic. A lot of times they're so stressed out from what's going on at home. They're not talking about it, and they can't sit still. How are they going to concentrate and sit still? They can't, even if they wanted to, because they are experiencing emotions that are not releasing and constant stress. They know something's wrong. They can tell, they feel it. Their nervous system's out of whack, and they don't know how to fix that. All right, so I want to share some tips. God, the time goes so fast on this call. And I also want to share with you that today, later on at 5 o'clock in the HighSpeed Healing Universe, if you're new to that, that's my membership program. And it always comes at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays. It follows this call. Some people do both and they come to this call. And then we go deeper. In the membership, we go deeper. And today I'm going to be teaching some ancient breathwork techniques, pranayama, from the yogic tradition that is super powerful for releasing trauma and stress and tension and in things like headaches, insomnia, digestion, elimination issues, nervousness, focus, memory, concentration, all these things it impacts in a positive way. And so if you would like to join us at 5 o'clock, I invite all of you, come one, come all. You need to sign up for it, and you can do that. I'll type the link in here. It's www.internationalcpi.com/HSHU. It's in the chat. That's internationalcpi.com/HSHU, and it stands for HighSpeed Healing Universe. Lori's asking, do I have to be a member of that in order to take advantage of your mini courses? No, but here's what's happening. So some of the mini courses that if you're a member, you get, you already get some of the mini courses free, and you will get more of them. And you will be part of some new ones that you will be part of. And so you'll be able to ask questions, and they're going to be recorded in the HighSpeed Healing Universe on that call, those calls. And then they're going to be offered to the general public for a price. So no, you don't have to be a member, but it may actually be more affordable to be a member, and with all that you get, than trying to do the mini courses and buy them separately. When you join, immediately you get one of my best selling, best ever, most popular mini courses, which is called From Chaos to Calm with Meditation Made Easy. And it's my meditation course, and it's $127 normally to the general public. But when you join for even just 1 month, which is a $97 membership, it's monthly, and you can cancel anytime. If you join for 1 month, you get the course for free. So you're paying $97 to be with me every week for a month, and you get the $127 course for free included. So to me, that makes better sense to do it that way. But the answer is no, you do not have to join. You'll get announcements about the mini courses. Okay, I want to leave, before we leave today, I want to give you some tips and tools to help you if you know you have trauma, if you know you have high stress, and you want some practical things you can start to do starting today. And by the way, please understand, I'm not trying to minimize. If you have severe trauma, you need to get some help. Whether it's from me or not is not the point. The point is, please get the help you need, because you don't want to live your life in fight or flight or freeze mode. You don't need to. So if it's not me, find someone you trust who specializes in this. I will tell you that the high-speed energy healing that I share with people that I do either one-on-one or in my group program, in the membership program once a month, and then in my pain-free living program, every single week, I do high-speed energy healing. This is the fastest way I've ever seen people with deep, severe trauma. It's the fastest way I've ever seen people release it. in the shortest amount of time without re-triggering the trauma. And I think that's everybody's main concern. Like, who wants to go back and muck around in old trauma? If you think you have it, if you know you have it, nobody wants to go back and revisit it. I get that. I don't either. But if you knew you could release it rapidly, and for some people, they never even feel the memory of it. They just release it. Other people shed some tears. Some people laugh. Some people have different experiences, but it is not where you're going to end up in therapy for the next 10 years. No, that's not what's happening to the people I work with. I have seen extraordinary trauma, the worst abuse. I mean, I hear some pretty intense stories, okay, of what people have been through. It's amazing what we survive, quite honestly. And it makes it, I've heard stories that make anything I've been through look like peanuts, just nothing. So I've seen people like that in 1 to 3 weeks be completely through the whole process of releasing it. And that's remarkable, because you won't find most places tell you that that's even possible, but it is. So some people are able in a week to be through the worst of it. I've had people with, you know, when your child dies, that is not easy. And I'm not saying they don't have any feelings about it, or they're not, you know, joking about it, but they are not in that sitting in a chair, staring at the wall, wishing, why them? I wish it had been me, wanting to kill themselves, wanting to never work or laugh or date or, you know, love again, because they're so depressed. It's gone. And so you can heal. Please, if there's nothing you hear but this, you can heal. So don't suffer one more day. All right, get out your pen and paper. So here are some tips. Number 1, you want to shake. Have you ever noticed how animals shake? Or, you know, that the joke, the chattering teeth? Why do we shake when we're really scared? Because shaking releases trauma. And the body is hardwired to release. When you have extra stress or trauma that you don't need, the body's designed as a way of self-healing to try to shake it off. You can purposely shake. And you will find, if you do it for a period of time, you can lie on the floor, you can raise your legs up and shake, shake, shake. You can stand, hold on to the wall or a chair, shake a leg, shake your arm, shake your whole body. But I want you to experiment with this, because it's quite healing and it's highly effective. And if you notice it's happening naturally, don't try to stop it. Let it happen. There's several techniques and yoga things that I teach, yoga postures I teach, that increase the shaking. You can learn to relax your muscles with something like a guided visualization, a guided meditation. Again, meditation is one of the most, if not the most powerful tools you can use to slowly and gently release trauma and pain of all types. It's slow. It's a slow boat. It's not going to always be a rapid, you know, fast fix, but it's easier on the system as well, because you won't get more than you can handle. Deep breathing and different pranayama exercises are also super powerful, and here's why. They bypass the intellect. They don't involve your thinking, and our thinking mind is the problem many times, because it's like a watchdog, and it's saying, oh, there it is, I don't want to think that, oh, I don't want to feel that, oh, we're not letting that come in, we're not going to have that thought. So it will keep you in denial and pretending and sabotaging, and oftentimes the conscious mind will keep you from getting the help you need. It thinks it's protecting you. So when you get that out of the way with breath work, what happens is the body's wisdom, your stuff will come up, your imprints, your pain, your patterns will come up and release, and your thinking won't stop it. I love being in nature, because nature is very soothing and healing. The earth itself and trees and the fresh air, the earth emits a frequency that's healing for all of us. It's why you feel so good when you spend time in nature or in the ocean or camping or walking in the forest, you're literally getting bathed in frequencies of healing. So don't ever underestimate the power of nature. You can laugh and roll your eyes all you want, but do it while you're hugging the tree. Lean against that tree. Put your arms around a big old tree and roll your eyes and laugh. And then do that for 10, 15, 20 minutes and notice how you feel afterwards. Put your bare feet on the earth or on the sand or the dirt or the grass. 20 minutes. And then see if you're still rolling your eyes. Now, this is so interesting about crying. A lot of people are embarrassed about crying and they were shamed for crying and they've shoved down the tears about the pain and suffering they're still in or that they went through and they never grieved it. Guess what crying does and why all animals, well, I think it's just mammals, cry. It releases, it puts you in a parasympathetic nervous state. It puts your, I can't talk today. Crying puts you in your brain in a parasympathetic nervous system state. And what that means is it's the self-healing mechanism kicks in. It's where it's also known as the rest and digest system. It's where your digestion calms down. It helps you sleep better when your nervous system, your parasympathetic, is on track. You sleep better at night. You've got the good hormones flowing through you. It's the opposite of the fight or flight. Guess what? That's what tears do for us. So never stop your tears. See, the fear is, people say to me all the time, oh, if I start crying, I'm never going to stop. I'll never function. I won't be able to work. I got to take care of my kids. I got to feed my husband. Like, it's not going to last forever. But the longer you keep it from coming up, the longer it does last. And once you learn the power of crying and you get it out, you'll see it moves very rapidly and you don't store it up anymore. So you don't have a backlog to get out. So there's a lot of crying going on in my pain-free living program. And I love that because there's a lot of healing going on every time that happens. And you start to lose the fear and the shame of it. All right, real quick, because I'm noticing the time. So let yourself cry. I want you to try journaling to get it out of you and get it on paper. Find a trusted friend, a priest, somebody that you trust, a counselor, a group like the ones we have here, my private Facebook groups that go with my programs. We go deep in there. We're talking real pain comes up, real solutions, real sharing, heartfelt support going on in there. Find a group like that. Laughter, watch sad movies to trigger the crying. You want to bring it up. And then watch funny movies to lighten your heart and bring in the endorphins. Spend time with a pet, an animal, walk a dog, petting a dog, an animal, a horse. I mean, even any animal they're very healing, and spending time with an animal, especially dogs, help with the emotions. Gardening, floating, taking bubble baths, watching movies. The main thing is don't isolate. I just want to leave on this note. Don't isolate. Don't think you can handle it by yourself. You won't. We need to have our wounds witnessed and to be acknowledged and to be honored and to be respected and to be given the love that you didn't get when you needed it. And you can, yes, learn to give that to yourself. Obviously, that's the highest form of self-love, to give it to yourself. But I'll tell you what, I know that other people loved me back to health before I could do that on my own. There's no way, you hear a lot of talk about self-love. There's no way I could have loved myself for the first few years of my recovery. I hated myself. Couldn't even look in the mirror, don't even take my picture. Other people loved me before I could love myself. They loved me back to health. And I want to be that person for you if you're struggling. And I have groups that will also do that with you and for you too. And so I'm here for you. I care about you. You matter. You matter. Even if I don't know you and haven't met you, you matter. And so I want to share with you that freedom is possible, recovery is possible, and you don't have to live in any kind of pain or trauma from the past. You don't have to keep it. And until we let go of what happened in the past, we keep bringing the memory of it into the present. And that's why it seems like nothing changes. So you're not stuck or blocked. You just need some more tools, some more support, and practicing it again, repeating it, because it doesn't happen with just one day of, oh, now I'm aware of it. I mean, you can, it does for some people. I don't want to limit it, limit your possibilities, but most people need support for a while till they can sustain and maintain a new way of living on their own. And so here's my hand to you for that support. I'm offering that to you anytime you just knock on my door, and I will do my very best to be there for you in the way you need. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, everybody, for being here today, for such great sharing, and thanks for all the comments. And you are so welcome. I'm glad you needed to hear this today. Love the chat. See you soon, right now, in the High Speed Healing universe. Bye, everybody. Much love.